say my name is Eric Stanley. I'm the founder and CEO of M2N, Minority Moves Network. Obviously, we like to call it M2N for short. And we're doing this good work and really, trying to promote equity in the workforce. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and turn that over to you. Have you talk to the audience about, what your experience has been, who you are, what you represent, and we'll go ahead and dive in.
Oh, that was a lot. So wait, who I am, what I represent? Can we backpedal a little bit?
Yeah, so just tell them a little bit about who you are,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about how we came to know each other, and then
Okay.
we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah. So brief history. My name is Jaylyn Graham. Originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Just moved to Indianapolis. Well, not just moved down to Indianapolis. I've been in Muncie the last 4 years pursuing my undergraduate degree and my graduate degree. We actually met when I was going through my grad program. We worked on a project, or I had a capstone project, and that's how we met, through working through that project. And I'm a recent graduate, just finished in December, so finally done with school.
Yeah.
Don't plan on getting my PhD anytime soon, but lifelong learner.
Fantastic. Well, cool. So, you kind of jumped in a little bit of how we met, but kind of talk to me a little bit about, why did you decide to choose the MPower app for your work study project?
Yeah, so that kind of definitely goes back into how we met. So the program that I was in, it was basically an IT program, information communication sciences. So it was like information technology, like fundamentals, really professionalism, learning how to use tech in the business world. And so we were working our capstone class. We were paired with the company, and the company that we were paired with was M2N. And Eric brought us on, or not me and the team, but the team, we were brought on to help them kind of flesh out an idea that they had, right? And I love the product so much. I love the company. I love them so much that I felt like this would be the best fit for me to kind of expand my skill set. So I was in a grad program, but I was also undergoing a master's, but I was also undergoing a graduate certificate. So my graduate certificate was emerging media design and development, which is basically design thinking, human computer interaction, and transmedia storytelling. And what I wanted to do was gain more experience in the realm of user experience design. And I didn't want to just do one of my projects like that I create and kind of do myself. I wanted some real world practical experience. And so I felt like that I had built a good relationship with Eric and Christy and the M2N team. And so I reached out to them to see if we can kind of figure out something. And we went from there, and it's definitely been such a positive experience.
Yeah, fantastic. I have to say likewise, man. And and digging a little bit deeper into the work, what do you feel the value of the app is? You touched on it a little bit. Could you go a little bit deeper from your perspective on what you feel the value of the app offers?
I think the better question, what isn't the value of the app? No. Um, I think once it's really up and launched, I feel like it can provide a value. So for so many different types of people, man, for people who are looking to network with other people and connect with other like-minded people, other diverse professionals, for people who are looking on that job search, right? Like there's so many different job searching engines, but like having the opportunity to look elsewhere, having the opportunity to look locally, look wherever you want to look, right? Just having another outlook or another opportunity for those search engines. I think it provides a lot of opportunity for content creation. Like one of the big things is having people upload their own content, having consistent content creators, right? And I feel like that's a really good space for people who are really into that, and for people who are looking to kind of research different topics, different mental health topics, different topics about the workplace as a whole. So I feel like MPower is just like a really good central hub of a lot of different things that people need in our society today.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you touched on a couple different pieces there that comes as a result from this ecosystem, right? People being able to upload content, people to feel like their voice is being heard, people, a place for people to be seen. Those things are added value, as well as being connected to, organizations and uh, uh, corporations that really are looking for diverse lived experiences and that power and that value that they can bring to the workforce.
Definitely.
So kind of dovetailing off of that, what would you envision? How would you envision using the app? Right, once it's launched, you as a member in the community.
Ideally, when it's launched, I would have a job by then, so I'm not using the app to look for a job. But I think me personally, I would go to the app because it is that hub for different resources, right? So when I was doing the testing and I was looking through the various different elements, like there were so many different categories that, like, how people go to, when you have a question, you go to Google and try to Google things, right?
Mhm.
Ideally, I would the app would have so many different resources that I could just kind of go to. Like, I'm thinking about navigating tough situations in the workplace, right? I can go to that specific category and find articles and resources that kind of relate to how I'm feeling, right? So ideally, for me, it would be an outlet to find those different things I'm interested in. And then also connecting with diverse professionals. So regardless of the background, like just kind of really connecting and getting to know those other people.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You say ideally having a job by then, right? So I think that's a good point, where it's not just a place where you go to find opportunities, but the content that's in the application, right, would be just in time for different scenarios and situations in which you could encounter when you're in the workforce. So that's a good point that you bring up there.
And then kind of
Uh,
going further into that, I know like from my knowledge that the app was kind of geared towards those more seasoned professionals trying to get those senior level roles, right? So once I'm in that position, I would definitely come back to the app and try to leverage, the function of the app and try to use that to kind of obtain those senior level roles, right? Because I know that's one of the target audiences for the app.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing is, I'd like to ask, so what are the opportunities you see with the MPower app?
Specifically, I guess like when we say opportunities, like is there like a specific subset of opportunities? Like what specifically do we mean by opportunities? I guess.
Where do you see it going? How do you see it? How do you see it helping folks? How do you see it being disruptive? You can just start with those two.
Ideally, it would be amazing if this could be as big as LinkedIn, not necessarily Indeed, because Indeed is just for job search, but LinkedIn, it's like that. You go to LinkedIn for jobs, but you also go to LinkedIn to connect and learn things, right? It'd be ideal if, it could be as big as that, right? That would be like the goal. Um, Opportunities, I just feel like there's a lot of space, as I mentioned, for content creators, right?
Mm.
the the ability to have another platform besides like TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn, right? Having a platform that's designated specifically for like workplace, right? That specific type of content would be very helpful for those content creators and kind of putting out that information. And for people like me looking for that information, it's a lot easier to go to Empower versus trying to be going to like Instagram or TikTok and searching for a specific thing and trying to find somebody's page and go to their page and find a specific video. Like it just seems like it'd be a lot easier. We could just go there. And
Mhm.
I don't know what is known to the public, but like from the back end, from what I've heard and about the things that are in the works, I feel like there's a lot of good things that the app promises and that the app can bring to the people.
Yeah. And it's really a critical point, right? You talk about all these other forums, and this would be one in which we're really trying to uplift, pour back into folks who maybe not necessarily don't have, you know, people that they see that look like them
Right.
successful, right? And sometimes just waking up every morning and opening your eyes doing that work, um, you need some affirmation. So you'll be able to get that from the application as well. And so we'll kind of end with, what was the process when you did the case study on our application? What was the process you used to move forward with that case study?
Can I share my screen? I actually have
Sure.
that would probably just make it a lot easier. So let
Yeah.
me do I have the yep, okay. So basically this is something that I haven't done something like this before. So this was a learning experience for me too. So I kind of had to figure out what the process was, right? So kind of going into it, ignoring the context and what the actual project was. So well, let me go to the roadmap. The roadmap. So this is kind of how I went about preparing the project and the process. So I knew that you guys were undergoing your beta testing research, right? And that you guys were looking to really find all of those user pain points that haven't really come to fruition to come to light because you haven't done a lot of user testing yet. And so that was my goal to figure out those pain points for you guys. And so I did this thing called heuristic evaluation first, and that's what this was. And essentially, it's just me going in the app, learning as much and trying to learn as much as I can about the app, while also identifying some initial pain points that can be further expanded upon in the actual testing. So that was kind of the first step that I did, and then after that, I identified who the actual user groups were. Who
Hmm.
do we want to interview? How many people do we want to interview? And then I started to set those interviews up. And so the main part is the actual usability study, which was the crux of the study. And so basically, it's just a comprehensive understanding of the beta user experience, right? And so this is some of the results from the heuristic evaluation, but coming into the usability study, right? So the process with this was you have qualitative and you have quantitative information. So uh, you have um, task based. It's a task based. What is the word I'm looking for? It's a task based kind of a process. So I have tasks that I want you to complete. So like this is me talking to the user, right? Or
Hmm.
I have tasks that I want you to complete. And so my goal, my objective is to see how well or how bad, they go about completing this task. And from that, it's going to give me various amounts of information that I can use to provide recommendations for further improvement, right? So like this is some of the quantitative information that I got, right? Some of this was a graph that's based on the success rate of each task or the difficult rating of each task, right? And some of the main problems that we were finding that I so also bases off what I found and based off what I found in my testing,
Hmm.
just a various variety of different problems. And then, but the most important thing is not just identifying those problems, but actually providing solutions, right? So like main thing was like content engagement, right? Like all of the skeleton for everything is there. The interface is designed beautifully and it has a lot of good ideas, but it's like you have to figure out what isn't working and how to improve that, right? And so that's kind of what this all was. And so, after I did the usability study, I did some empathy research to kind of really understand what a ideal user would look like within the system. So like these are like two user personas that I created to kind of get a
Hmm.
better understanding and feel for the how to provide those recommendations. And then the end goal was so I had these pain points identified. I wanted to kind of give a visualization for what one of my recommendations were. So one of my big things was providing accessibility so that MPower could reach a greater number of people because a lot of people have various disabilities and you want to make sure that they can function within the app effectively, right? So I had built a prototype to kind of showcase what I was saying. And then, because I was on a limited time, right? So I could only do so much. And so the end
Right.
goal was just if you like go through in the actual study, the end goal was providing these recommendations. And for each problem that I listed, I provided a pretty in-depth recommendation. So that was pretty much the process for how I went about it. And it was really just kind of a learn as I go kind of thing and figure out what works best.
Yeah, no, it was great. One of the things that you're able to do, we have an idea, we have a vision, but we're only a couple data points. So then
Right.
you took that, you expounded upon it, you took it out there, actually had feedback, gave people the opportunity to use the application, see how intuitive it was or wasn't, and if there were issues that you rated that were generated a poor response, you actually showed how we could make it better. And I think that was just fantastic and invaluable. So fantastic, man. I hear that you may have some questions for me as a founder as well that you might want to send my way.
I do. Um, so my first question for you is just basically, why did you choose to use a technology platform to be at the center of your solution?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you start to look at what we're trying to do and trying to make change and trying to make change transformational and sustainable, you have to be able to do that at scale. So I knew that coming from having a tech background and being around scalability and just seeing how all that works, I knew that there had to be something that we could create that would move the needle and be able to move the needle in a way that was wholesome, that could do so for a couple of folks the same way as it could do for a couple million of folks. So that's why we really looked at a tech-centric solution that is comprehensive for a complex problem.
Gotcha. So like basically from my understanding is you would rather be able to help millions versus a couple people, right? Like you wanted a solution like this is scalable and you're able to provide more help to versus just a small group of people, if that makes sense.
100%. And what you have to do is always start small, because you want to start small and you want to start slow and you want to get it right, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that what we are doing is making a difference. And then once you find that secret sauce, right, then you can start to scale it. But then also, as time progresses and people evolve and situations change, you still need to be able to tweak things to make sure that we're still current in addressing the problem in the present.
Awesome. Awesome. Love
Yeah.
that. So my next question for you would be, what are the benefits of a technology enabled business versus a service business? So like consulting versus recruiting.
Yeah. So I think the benefits of a tech enabled business again goes back to scale. And so when you look at my journey as a founder, a big part of that is going to folks who have dollars that want to see something that is scalable, right? And when you have consulting, that takes a lot of people on people, which is hard to scale. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that both aren't needed in this work that we're doing, but what we want to do is we want to lead with the tech enabled business and then supplement with the consultative services side. And I think MPower will really give us an opportunity to do that at scale and be able to allow us to forge relationships with organizations that are in the right place in their journey, that they want to continue to cultivate, their environment in which their employees are working and thriving. So I think they both go hand in hand, but obviously in order to really scale and be a huge platform to bring in the consulting, you got to have a tech-enabled business first.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Thank you for that. And I just have some more questions for you.
Sure.
Third is, I'm more about like the problem that you face. So like, what are some obstacles that you have experienced in building MPower?
Yeah. So, the journey in the life of a founder is, you get a lot of highs, you got a lot of lows, right? You got to be able to, first of all, make sure that you don't get too high, you don't get too low. With that being said, we are addressing a problem that, a lot of folks that I'm speaking with may understand that it's a problem, but they don't live it.
Mm,
And so when they don't live it, it's hard to get a grasp around why you would want to invest. So if you look at the numbers, um, underestimated founders receive less than 1% of dollars allocated by venture capital.
wow.
So I would say in terms of one of the biggest issues is just getting enough at bats with people who are, you know, aligned with your liberation. And once you find those folks that whose liberations are bound with yours, it's easy, right? But it's just finding those folks uh, who understand and the story resonates with that so much, right? That they want to put their capital behind it to see this thing be built and succeed. But one of the things that I would say in terms of my background of being a consummate sales professional, I have that mentality that every no is just getting me closer to a yes. And that's really a critical piece of being a founder and going out and raising money to something that you believe in. And when you have that mentality, you know that you would just break through a wall to get to the end goal, right? That finish line. And for us right now, when we talk about 2023, it's about getting our beta out there and getting our generation one product built, actually designed, built, and deployed, right? So that I can go to organizations and say, this is what we've got. This is how this can help you. Why don't you pilot this with us? We can get some testimonies. We have some traction. And then I go back to these folks and say, look at what we built.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Something that you said actually sparked kind of a response to a question that you had asked about me earlier about opportunities. You were talking about stories that resonate with people, right? And so it
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of the struggle that I'm going through now, trying to secure entry level job. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like targeting the application for those people, 'cause I feel like everyone has gone through the struggle of trying to secure that first entry level job because it's one of the hardest struggles you're going to go through going through the workforce, right? And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's a story that resonates with a lot of people. So maybe another opportunity would be trying to figure out a way to kind of help bridge that gap for those people like me, because that is something that I would definitely need as well.
Yeah, 100%. When we talk about skills based and sort of the background of how this is different and why, um, there's a lot of different factors, right? But one of the big things that we know is important are internships, apprenticeships, right? From organizations that believe in what skills first approach can do, and it's really just all about trying to unlearn the barriers, give folks a chance, give that experience, and then have that experience turn into something in which turns into a full role. And the best way for us to do that is to find these organizations that have found success and have them be an evangelist
Mm,
for us all, right? So then it transforms from a product that we're selling more to a partnership with those evangelists with other organizations, and it becomes a peer-to-peer interaction. And they say, look, we have found success doing this. This is something that you should do. And it's not coming from a third party, it's coming from an actual organization. And then that starts to increase the adoption to where we can get more talented folks and individuals like yourself an opportunity to turn it into something where you can have a family sustaining wage.
amazing response. That was yeah, that was perfect. Well, I just have one more question for you.
Yep.
Um, this is really just kind of just advice, right? So, like, what advice would you give to others who are thinking about adopting a technology-enabled business model?
Mm. Well, there's two schools of thought, right? There's two schools of thought when you are looking to build a business. You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do it in tech. Tech and tech-enabled opportunities are vast, right? Most organizations, if you're not in tech at some level, then your business is probably dying. But when you ask about advice around folks who want to start a business model, I think you have to find something within yourself that you are so passionate about, honestly, that you are willing to run through a brick wall for. That's the start. And when you find out what that is, every day that you wake up, no matter the situation, no matter the scenario, is a blessing, it's a gift, and it's an opportunity for you to do good work, right? That really matters to you. And then when it really matters to you, it's bigger than you. So if you can find something that you're really passionate about and you can digitize it, you can find a model in which technology will help you scale it, I think you're on the right track. Does that help?
It does. I should have been taking notes.
Well, we got it recorded, man. I'll send it to you. Well, hey, man. Any other questions for me as we're about to sign off here? I've really enjoyed our time here.
No, I don't think I have any more, man. I just want to say I thank you for you and Christy and the team for what you guys have been doing, what you guys are trying to build. Like I know this will change so many people's lives when it's really up and running. So thank you.
That's fantastic. That's all the validation that we need, man. And every day we get up and we pour ourselves into this good work. And when you do that, you find people whose liberations are bound, like we found each other. And those are the moments that you celebrate. So with that, we'll continue to celebrate your excellence and keep this ball moving forward. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, my man.